Hi folks, how you doing? This is Mitch at Hard Intentions YouTube channel. And of course, you know we have hardintentions.com where we sell T-shirts and other merchandise. And if you feel like grabbing a shirt or some prints of my artwork, head on over and check it out. We really appreciate the support. And yeah, so here we are. My last video I talked about going to Tracy and some of the endeavors I encountered there. Wasn't a very pleasant deal, when I left Tracy in '93, I went to Donovan. It was a good place to be. There was a lot of programs. Hobby was running full blast. Prison industry was running full blast. They had a nice wood factory, and all the vocations were running. And as far as me, like, I finished my vocational milling cabinet there. I went over to the carpenter shop to work as build cabinets for them and do other work. And then I went on to the wood factory there. All that was shut down. They had a carpenter shop, and I got a job in the carpenter shop for the short time that I was there. But the vocations were shut down. They were opening up some bullshit trades like office services, where they would teach you how to be a clerk, because they need clerks in prison, and some other shit. But it was really a joke. It was kind of disappointing to see how bad the prison had deteriorated. But there goes the savage dogs. Knock it off. They're barking at the cat. You'd be good. Of course, we have two of them now. So, anyways, Tracy was a real disappointment. And like I said before, the old saying that you can never go back. That's true. That really is true. You can never go back. Things don't change. You leave somewhere, and then like 10, well, in this case, 20 years later, you try to go back. It's impossible. It doesn't happen. And this is our new little savage. Yeah, ain't you? It just, things change, man, and then it'll your memories of what the things used to be are distorted by the change. In this case, the negative change. They destroyed the prison. So I went to CMC West from there. This is in 2013, the middle, around May or June. And I knew it was going to be a difficult place for me because I don't do real well in dorm living. I never lived in a big dorm. I lived in some small dorms back in the day in Vacaville. The biggest dorm I ever lived in was 16-men dorm, and it was a different time back then. It was actually pretty cool. That's when I was partying and all that kind of stuff, tattooing full blast, and so I really didn't mind. But now I'm going to a place that has 90-man dorms, and it's overcrowded, and they had like 4 or 5 shower heads in the shower room for 90 guys, and they had 4 toilets, 2 pissers, 4 sinks for 90 people. So you do the math on that. It's pretty ugly, But I didn't know that at the time. I just knew it was a dorm, and I knew. Now I'm starting to see guys go home. For a long time, like in the beginning of my term, I said, hey, I'm going to do more time than the average guy because I'm a fuck up. I was a 17-year-old kid when I got busted. I was a teenager, then early 20s, for the beginning of my term, and I knew I was going to do more time than the average guy, but I didn't know that I would reach a point where I just came to the conclusion that I was never going to get out and accept that and learn how to function within those parameters, like, hey, this is the way things are, this is the way things are going to be, and learn how to function within those parameters, When I was younger, I was an asshole. Like when I was in the hole, I would light fires, throw shit and piss on the cops, flood, burn, just raise hell. Sell extract, But now I'm an older guy, I've been down quite a while at that time, 30 years, 33 years, something like that, 34 years, I don't know. And so I'm of the mindset now of, look, I'm not going to get out of prison, and I just want a hobby, do my artwork, have some music. I had a decent radio. I had to sell it because you're not allowed to have radios or speakers in dorm living at this level 2 I'm going to. So I was a little upset about that, but I dealt with it. I sold my radio. I got $350 for this radio, and there were guys upset that I chose to sell my radio to someone for cash rather than kicking down the homies. And I had to get in their face before I left and tell them, hey, fuck you. It's my shit. I do what the fuck I want with it. And my plan was, and which I put into effect, was I was going to use that money to buy art supplies. And that's what I did. So I got on the bus and I went to CMC West. And, when I first got there, I thought, hey, maybe this place isn't too bad. It was dorms, and it's what it is. I saw photographs when I was there from the 1800s. It's an old army fort back in the day. It's in San Luis Obispo. And, during World War II, they brought wounded soldiers there, and they rehabbed them there in the dorms. So it was an army hospital kind of camp. Originally, though, it was an army fort. And so now it's a prison, and the property is owned by the National Guard. So the state of California rents it from the National Guard. So these dorms are wooden barracks. And there's a lot of trees on the property. There was actually like kumquat trees, peach trees, a lot of pine trees, some little oak trees, There were trees, and it has like streets going down. Like the yard I was on E yard. The street goes down. The dorms are on one side, then some dorms on the bottom. So baseball field. There's a mini canteen on each yard. The appearance is of like it's like living in a little community park almost. That's the appearance of the yard I was on. And I thought it was pretty cool looking. I thought, hey, man, this might be an all right place to be, Now you got to remember, though, I'm of the mindset that I'm a level 2. I'm doing all day, and I want a hobby. And I want to do my artwork, and I just want to kick back. I want to listen to music. I want to do my art. I want to get my walk on, do a few push-ups here, a little bar work, stay in shape. Get some visits, and now I'm seeing guys go home. So if I can work towards going home, good, right? But if not, then fuck it, I'm in a place where I can live. And that's my mindset. And so when I saw this place, I thought, hey, it's all good. And, same old shit when I got there. Some lames, like, paperwork checks and all that stuff. And I noticed right away that nothing's changed. There were a lot of guys that I knew there. But I popped my paperwork out, and it's the same thing. Hey, show me yours, and I'll show you mine. And so nobody really asked me for my paperwork. They just, there were guys there that knew me, and so it's like, hey, Smiley's all right, dude, whatever. They have a softball field, and of course they don't play interracial sports because they're scared of what somebody might think. Even though back in the day there were white baseball teams played black and Mexican softball teams, so on and so forth. That was kind of out of the question. So now you have white team plays the Southsider team, and that's it. There's Northerners there, a limited number. So it's a white Southsider black prison with a few Northerners, and that it was cool. Uh, yeah, I didn't like it. Straight away. I lived in a reception dorm, then I got my property, and the cop that gives you your property is a real prick. And he tries to regulate what he gives you, saying, hey, this is a dorm living, using that excuse, right? Like, this is a dorm, you can't have this, you can't have that. And so right away, I got a bad attitude. And but I'm still kind of biting the bullet. Because now, if you can imagine going from 1991, when Pete Wilson took office and took everyone's dates and basically said that, you're never going to get out of prison, to now in 2013, guys are actually going home. They have life sentences. So I had developed this mindset that I'm never going to get out of prison. This is where I'm going to live. This is where I live. Not this is where I'm going to be until I get out. This is where I live. And coping little strategies on how to deal with all the assholes and the dolphins and the wannabe tough guys and all that shit. And trying to do my artwork, have a decent radio, be comfortable, to now, hey, can I get out of prison? Before it's like I'm going to program so I can have shit. Now it's like, do I start programming to have shit, or do I program because maybe I can get out? So, and I'm seeing guys get out. They were getting out of San Quentin, they were getting out of Soledad, and they're getting out here at CMC West. So I just decided, all right, I'm going to kick it. I'm not going to push my shit around. And there were some homeboys there from San Diego, younger guys. One of them, Mr. Hooker. How you doing, brother? He just got out of the hole. Now this kid is a diabetic. He's got juvenile diabetes. He's been a diabetic, from birth, basically. Takes 5 shots a day of insulin, and which is, just imagine dealing with that. That's a fucked up deal. And he's into drugs and whatnot. And so as soon as he got there, before I arrived, some guys told him, he had to put in work, and this guy never been to prison, so he did a removal, which is a 2-on-1, and I've explained that in the past. It's usually a group of assholes that think they're running the yard, don't like somebody for whatever reason, they think he's got to go, so they'll get a couple of kids to go jump on the guy in front of the cops. The cops see that this guy's being jumped on by 2 inmates, and they take the guy off the yard afterwards. They won't let him come back to the yard. It's called a removal. So they had this youngster do that, and because he was young, and he just felt like, hey, I have to do this. He did it. So he gets out of the hole, and then I drive up. And he's running around with a Native American cat who was pretty cool. He kind of had the dude's back. He had Lucas's back. But really, it's just a dope thing. The Indian dude had a little money, and Lucas is a dope fiend, and, there's drugs. So, bottom line, they're partying. But I noticed that a lot of Native American cats will run with white dudes in prison. Or they'll run with each other, but they also, buddy up with the whites. So I noticed that this dude really did have my homeboy's back. They were good friends, so I'm like, all right. And first thing I did was tell him, hey, look, you're from San Diego. We run our own motherfucking car. These dudes don't run us. If they ever come and tell you got to do something again, you come and tell me, because that's a bunch of bullshit. And I explained to him, look, you don't do what some fucking lame tells you to do. These guys say they're running the yard. Who the fuck are they? And he's like, okay. And the kid kind of put his trust in me, and he turned out to be a really good homeboy. I hated that fucking prison. There was a fat dude there named Tommy who I used to be okay with at Lancaster, and he was working the plumbing shop, and there was some scuttlebutt him and some other big tall guy that said he was a skinhead guy, and he thought he was some hot shit. Turns out he was in CMC East at one time and came over to the West Yard, but was denying that he was in the East Yard. And the East Yard is supposedly no good for whites, mind you, because they have guys over there with questionable backgrounds. So anyway, these dudes think they're running the yard, and they're talking mad shit about some dude that was on the yard. He was a gang dropout, supposedly. And other guys say he wasn't a dropout. Prison gang that came around later on during my term. But they're talking a lot of shit about this dude. And one dude says, if that dude comes back to the yard, I'm gonna fuck him up myself. And I'm just listening because I don't know the dude that they're talking about, but I do know them. And yeah. So anyway, this is a few months go by, and I hear that this dude they're talking about is in the hole, and they're like, yeah, he's coming back to the yard. And I think, why would they bring this guy back to the yard? But I thought it was kind of funny. I don't give a fuck who comes on the yard. If he's in a prison gang, a street gang, if he's a tough guy, dope fiend scumbag, shot caller, I don't care. Because I do my own thing. I always rally up my homeboys and say, look, we're from Dago. We do our own thing. So anyway, I hear this guy's coming back to the yard, so I let fat dude know, hey, this dude's coming back to the yard. Now, mind you, before I go on with this story, this fat dude's running a fucking plumbing shop. I worked in Donovan for 7 years, emergency plumber. I know my shit with prison plumbing. It's very simple. If you're not a plumber, obviously it took me a little bit of time to learn plumbing, but and I had a good teacher. Thank you, Lola. He cock-blocked me from getting a job in the plumbing shop. My little homeboy I told you about that they used up to do that removal, he was working in the plumbing shop. And so I'm like, I went over to the plumbing shop, put in an application, like I want to get a job as a plumber. Plumbers get to move around the whole prison. Every building in the prison you get to go to, doesn't matter what yard you're on. And it's kind of cool because you go to a central location where they have a shop and you got all your tools and your parts. You load a cart up and you hit the yard, and you go do your thing. And because it's level 2, you don't need a free staff with you. This guy cock blocked me from getting that job, and I was very upset about it. And the youngster told me, hey, this dude's keeping you from getting that job. He doesn't want you to work in a plumbing shop. And I was like, all right. So, the youngster was, had a loyalty to me, homeboy. And I guess he recognized that, I'm a different kind of guy than this fat motherfucker, right? So I didn't let it be known, that I knew he cock-blocked me from getting that job. I just moved on. I got a little job, yard crew job I think I had, which is a job that you never have to show up to. You just go out and show your face to the cop, wave at him, move on. And it's like, all right, because it's not a pay number. It's a bullshit job because if you're A1A status, you have to have a job. So it's one of those jobs, it's like, all right, we're going to assign this guy. They would say they have 20 dudes on the yard crew. 10 of them work, 10 of them are just like, see you later, because I got to have a job assignment. Anyway, I act like nothing's going on, like, hey, I don't know what the fuck's happening, right? I'm Joe Dickhead, right? Yeah. So this guy, back to the story, is supposedly coming back to the yard. And I can't remember his damn name. But so I go and tell old boy, these two guys that think they're running shit, Mr. Too Tall and Fat Boy. Now, I heard Fat Boy say if that dude ever comes back to the yard, I'll fuck him up myself. And so I go over and tell these dudes, hey, they're all standing around the Yard Shack canteen, which is another story. Yeah, Jeff Perotti run that canteen. And they're all hanging around the Yard Shack canteen, which is a little store in the yard. It's a little cinder block building where they sell sodas and canteen, and, candy bars, all that kind of shit. So I go let them know, hey man, so-and-so's coming back to the yard, I heard. I smile, and they all get all serious look on their face. All these guys that think they're about the shit, right? And they're all, whoa, wow, and then they're talking all their little talk about dude. Because now the potential that, hey, this guy's coming back, I think what happens is the wheels start turning their brain, and it's like, well, how much shit did I talk about him, and who heard it, right? Yeah. Because it's easy to talk smack about somebody when they're not around. But once you're faced with a situation where you might have to face this dude face to face, then it's a whole other story. So, yeah, I let them know that. And then I just kind of sit back and watch and, I kind of play the dumb role. Like, I don't know what's going on, But, because all these guys think they're about the shit. They're all involved with drugs. They're all slamming dope. And that's their life. Being in prison, shooting dope. And so I let a day or two go by, and then I walk up on Fat Boy and Mr. Tall, and I hear dudes say, well, we can always get one of these youngsters to deal with them. And I just thought, man, what a fucking punk, right? This dude's, he's not as tall as me, but he's big. He's a fat dude. And I told him, hey, check this out. My little homeboy was there. I go, hey, check this out. I heard you say out of your mouth that if that dude came back here on this yard, that you were going to fucking take care of that personally, that you were going to jump on him. I said, you better not let me catch you having any of these motherfucking kids jump on him to remove him. You need to fucking do that. You said you were going to do that. You don't use any of these fucking youngsters to jump on that guy. And all these dudes are just standing there looking at me like in shock, And here's my thing. If you're about the fucking business, be about the business, bitch. Don't say you're running the yard so you can shoot dope, and then when you got to do something, piss on yourself and have some fucking kid. And I told them, I go, these fucking kids program is just as important to them as yours is to you. So don't let me catch you sicking these fucking kids on that dude when he comes back to the yard. And they were all looking at me like all big-eyed and shit. And my thing is, that dude cock-blocked me out of a job. And I knew it. And I was just kind of waiting, biding my time when I could get in his ass about some issue. He's lucky that I seen dudes going home, because by now I kind of made up my mind that I was going to make an effort towards getting out of prison. And on the other hand, I was still living there. I'm going to focus on trying to get out of prison. I'm going to do my artwork. I wanted to listen to music, kick it, walk the track, work out, do my art. But on the other hand, I got to live there. And I don't like that shit. I never liked them fucking lambs using them kids to do their dirty work, and I had seen it my whole career in prison. So a couple days go by, and then somebody told me, hey man, they're not bringing that dude back to the yard. And I'm like, what? And a bunch of dudes mysteriously the next day, after I got in that dude's ass, went over to the program office and cried to them about, you can't bring that guy back to the yard. So those are dudes running the yard. So, you can figure that out, right? Anybody can. These dudes got scared and went and cried to fucking cops. They don't bring that guy back, or we'll have to kill him. you know, and that's a famous thing is they'll drop kites saying, we're gonna kill Joey or we're gonna kill Bobby or whoever. If you bring, if a guy's in the hole, we're gonna kill him. Or if a guy's in the yard and they owe him money, we're gonna kill him. A cop told me, I said, hey man, this is bullshit. You know them kites are bullshit. And he said, look, as soon as they put they put that word in the kite, we're gonna kill this guy. They have to take it serious. We have to lock that person up or prevent him from coming back, one of the two, and then they have to investigate it. So, oh boy, just wasn't coming back to the yard. And of course, no one really made the connection because they didn't know what I knew, that I had told them guys, you know, hey, that guy's coming back to the yard, and they all started shitting their pants, you know. Yeah. So that kind of showed me where them guys at, and I would see Fat Boy and the other guy, and just, yeah, okay, you know what I mean? It was bullshit. And I was in dorm 10, which is an asshole dorm. There was a guy there from Ventura that used to ride motorcycles. He's about 10 years younger than me, and he's a biker. He had an FXR, and he was also into big drug sales on the street, which got him sent to prison. He got a manslaughter over drugs and whatever. But, you know, he was a motorcycle rider, so I used to walk the track with him, and nobody liked this dude because he was kind of outspoken, and he wasn't with their bullshit program. And there was another youngster, he was in a bike club. Yeah, and he was about the business. And he ran around with some dudes that were from San Luis Obispo. They had a little car there. And I like these dudes because there was like 3 or 4 of them, along with this kid that was in a club, and they walked the track. And then this dude that I used to live in the dorm with was their homeboy and shit. So they weren't about all the bullshit that these guys did, you know. Matter of fact, one time they were talking shit, and one of these dudes went up to the old boy and said, "Do something." Put his fists up, tell him, "Do something, motherfucker. Do something." And the guy pissed on himself. So they were a good crew of guys, and I used to walk the track with him and talk and kick it, you know. And the guy from Ventura, you know, there was a guy in our dorm. His name was Woody. He was kind of a lame, and you know, his family used to send him money. And guys in prison, when they see that somebody has money, they'll befriend the guy just for the money, even if the guy's a fucking lame or a turd. They'll befriend him just to suck off him, you know, whether it's canteen or money for dope, or, you know, let's buy cigarettes because now, you know, tobacco's illegal. So this dude, I didn't like him, and he was always like, you know, they got, these dorms have open windows, and you can open them or close them, and he was always wanting a window closed, and other guys wanted to open, and, you know, he was just a smart ass dude, and he thought he was all that, and he was just an average sized dude, and he was lame. And so one time Mark, this dude I used to run around with, was arguing with him, and I go, "Hey, you fucking lame, why don't you shut your mouth?" You know? And the dude got all, we're in a dorm, and the dorm has 2 TV rooms, and he goes, "Lame?" And I go, "Yeah, fucking lame, shut your fucking mouth." And he walked up on me and he took a poke at me. You know, I just kind of went like that, and I go, "All right, TV room now." And I took my glasses off, you know, in the TV room, and I took a couple jabs at the dude, and he bent over and grabbed my balls. He just bent over and grabbed my nuts, and he was squeezing my balls, and he was going, "Ah, ah," like squeezing my nuts. I was like, "Dude, really?" And I just leaned down and gave him an uppercut into his face, you know, and he stood up, and his face was bloody, and I cut my hand, I cut my knuckle on his teeth, and I hit him a couple times in the face, and we're in the TV room area. Now, if this was a concrete building, I really would have had some fun with him, But anyway, I grabbed the dude by the face and slammed him against the wall. And look, no one liked this dude. No one. He was like super hated, There were black dudes, Mexicans, white dudes watching, just like, yeah, a lot of people seen this, And I hit him a few times, and then I stepped back and put my fists up. I go, let's go, And he peeled out running. He ran away. And this little Mexican cat, this little Southsider kid, he bends down, he stands up, and he had the dude's tooth in his hand. And he goes, I didn't know teeth were that big. I guess when I gave him that uppercut, it knocked his tooth out, and it cut my finger open, which I was kind of pissed off about. And so he ran away, and I was like, let's get him up. And these guys are like, black dudes and Mexican cats are like, hey, bro, your finger's bleeding. I had a pretty bad gash on my knuckle from his mouth. So they're like, hey, you got yours, And I'm used to, like, if I get in a fight with somebody in a joint and there's a blind spot, I can get them down on the ground. I'm going to smash their head in the concrete. I'm going to hurt them. This is all wooden building. So, when I smashed his head against the wall, it really didn't hurt him. I did knock his fucking tooth out and fattened his lip up, and blacked his eye. But, in that yard that I was on, you don't fight and get away with it. I seen guys fighting in that yard, and they get caught within a half hour. Guys tattooing that in the day rooms there. Within 15 minutes, the cops are coming in the side door and the dorm, busting them with their equipment. People tell in that level 2, and that's a mainline fucking level 2. So, I thought, man, I'm fucked. I got a cut on my finger. It was a pretty deep gash. So these guys go, hey, so I go and tell the building officer, hey, because whenever you got an injury, they need to document it. So I went out to the Yard Shack canteen with this fucking lame, and I said, look, he hated this dude, Woody. Everyone hated this dude. I said, look, I just fucked this dude up. I got a cut on my finger, so I'm going to tell him that I was out here talking to you, and I cut my finger on the door. You shut the door on my finger, and it cut my finger. He goes, yeah, okay. So I went and told the building officer, hey, I was out talking to so-and-so, the Yard Shack canteen, and he shut the door on my finger, and he's like, all right. He documented it. Then I went over to sick hall. They documented it, wrapped my finger up, and all that shit. So, I think so many dudes hated this guy that no one told. They were just glad to finally see someone put their hands on him, And, later a couple of guys go, hey, bro, I'm glad you got away with that, but, you could have jeopardized, your efforts to get out of prison. And I was like, yeah, I know. But they had a yard cop on that yard. Fuck, I can't remember his name. He wasn't a goon squad guy. He was the yard guy. He's the guy you went to if you wanted a job on the yard. He's the guy that the Yard Shack canteen guy worked for. And he was on vacation. And he came back from vacation. And he worked with this cop named Reed. Reed was a fighter. He was into UFC shit, all that. Had his teeth knocked out, and you could tell he had, bridge and all that. But so a couple weeks go by, and this cop comes back to work, and I've been in his office, and he had all the gang shit on the wall, photographs, artwork, and all that shit. And I'm thinking, you're an OPC level 2 motherfucker, and you think, you got it going on, Mr. Investigator, But I was coming back from chow, it was like 2 weeks later, and he goes, "Hey, Smiley." And I stop. I go, "What's up?" He goes, "There's no secrets around here." And I go, "What?" He goes, "There's no secrets around here." And I know what he was referring to. I go, "Yeah, I know that. Fuck, everybody knows I'm a handball champion." Yeah. And yeah, I just kind of clown like I didn't know what he was talking about. But I knew what he was talking about. He was telling me, "Hey, we know," So yeah, that was the beginning of my fucking life. 2.5 miserable fucking years in CMC West. And when we continue, I'll tell you some more about that badass level 2 killer yard. Thank you, folks, and thank you for watching. And remember, whatever it is you're doing in life, do it hard. Thank you, folks.